What's going on, everyone? We want to welcome today on the show Amanda Seals. Now, she's a comedian, speaker, DJ, entrepreneur, music artist, media personality. Anything I forgot, Amanda?
Writer.
Writer. Also artist, because I see on your website that you have some paintings as well. So you extremely talented, I noticed, Amanda.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, so she's been on MTV, VH1, CNN, The Breakfast Club, name a few well-known outlets. Now, Amanda, I remember you from the first time I seen you a few years ago on YouTube. Now, you probably gonna go way back with this one. First time I seen you is when you did a YouTube show called Diva Speak TV. You remember that?
Wow. Taking it back to the old school.
Yeah. Then I remember your other show, Diva Diva, y'all. Remember that one?
Oh my gosh. You know the catalog.
I know. That's it. That lets you know how long ago I've been knowing who you were.
I love it. I love it.
So I don't know. See, people maybe know you as Seals now, but I remember you as Amanda Diva. That's how far I go back. Way back.
Back in the time.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So, people, I know who you are, but some people may not know who you are, how you got to where you are today. Can you tell people a little bit, Amanda, who you are, why you got just a bubbly personality, why your eyes tell a lot about you when you're speaking to people? We'll get to that later. But how that from
So I think a lot of people know me from being a VJ on MTV in my early days, in my 20s, and even some people even know me from even before that, when I was on a sitcom on Nickelodeon called My Brother and Me when I was 12. So I've been in like show business for a while, and then I was when I moved to New York to go to college at SUNY Purchase, I started doing spoken word. So I was on Def Poetry Jam for 2 seasons, and I've always been in the arts. And when I graduated from school, I started doing a radio show at Sirius Satellite Radio called Breakfast at Divas. And then I became a VJ on MTV, and I got really immersed in hip-hop culture and hip-hop world. And I was writing for The Source. I was writing for Double XL, for allhiphop.com. So a lot of people knew me in that space. At that time, my name was Amanda Diva. Then I became an artist, recording artist myself, and I dropped 4 independent albums, and I'm on Q-Tip's last album, and I used to open for The Roots, and I toured with Lupe and the Cool Kids. I mean, it's been a journey. And so I've been very fortunate to kind of have inhabited these really unique spaces. And over that time, I also started doing comedy at VH1. And I was doing the show Best Week Ever. And at the time, I didn't realize that was going to like shift my life, but it really did, because I was around a lot of comics, and I also started finding like my comedic voice outside of just being like your funny homegirl, at the party. It was like, no, like I can be funny on cue. And that's when I started creating shows like Diva Speak TV and Diva DV Y'all, which was on Karma Loop. And then I created a show called The Spark for AOL.com. And then around 2012, when reality TV got just like overwhelming, I looked at a lot of my sisters, and we weren't able to get work because we weren't willing to be dumb or hypersexualized for TV. And I was just like, well, I guess I need to just create my own stuff. So I started writing these one-woman shows. So the first one-woman show I wrote is called Death of the Diva, and it's a musical and it's a comedy, and it talks about, through different characters, how pop culture represents women, good and bad. And then I started doing those sequentially. So I did another one the next year called It's Complicated, which is an interactive show about relationships. And I did that in a comedy club in New York. And from doing it in that comedy club, that's when I started doing stand-up. And that was really when I realized like where my sweet spot is in terms of how to utilize all these different talents that I've been really blessed with, and utilize them to speak to people in a way that is not only funny, but also informative and also useful. And, since then I created another one-woman show called Mo Better Woo, which hopefully you will see on Broadway one day, where I took I took Wu-Tang records and I turned them into jazz.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, that's a fun one. So you can actually go on my YouTube and see some clips from that and see some songs from that. And so I moved to Los Angeles last year in September, and during my move, I actually filmed a scripted comedy called Get Your Life, that I put on Issa Rae's web platform, and started just really immersing myself into writing and getting into the LA comedy scene. And things are really dope. But you about to see. So people have seen me in these different spaces, but you about to see all the pieces come together very shortly.
All right, now, man, I got a question. When you gonna submit content so we can put it on this channel?
I didn't even know that was an option. So that's
Amanda, you are family, so you can definitely holler at me about anything. You know that we support you over here.
Fantastic. See, I like to know that I have allies. That's dope. So we'll definitely talk about that.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Now, so you speaking about Deaf Poetry Jam. Okay. Now, 40 MCs. What inspired that one?
Y'all good? Yeah. All right. I got 40 MCs on my block, walking with a bop, claiming that they real hip hop. 80 feet in Timbs and sagging jeans, rhyming about cream, chasing the same dream. This poem is a little ditty about the 40 MCs on what seems like every block in New York City. It's a pity most ain't rhyming for the love, it's for the fame. Treating this culture like it's a game. See, their mental state is getting minds when they script between the lines. They ain't worried about the rhyme, they just trying to make a dime. So in time, the hosts are pushing pens to get them arranged. Like milk past the date, go quickly down the drain. There was 40 MCs on my block, and 3 had kids. 1 got shot, 4 got knocked. 1 got with a chick that made him put his pad away. The other went back to school to get her BFA. Now I'm a rapper, they all say, till their pockets ain't getting stuffed, or their lives get a little rough. Man, that MC shit was just a bluff. Because when the going got tough, it didn't take much for the MCs to get hushed. So now there's 30 MCs on my block, holding down the cypher spot in front of the corner shop, 60 arms swinging as they frantically flow, feeding to spit some shit to make their poetry go, oh! But you know how it go. I'm that nigga they all figure, wanna be jigger, screaming, soon I'll be making major figures. They start rhyming for the money because they think it's easy, but insincerity has no longevity. You feel me? Eventually, 3 got locked up. 4 got a weed spot in a 4th floor walk up. 5 had kids, 2 got knocked up. 3 was living with their moms and forced to act like grown-ups had to go get jobs, so they hung the mic up. 1 became a born-again Christian. And when cats ask him, yo, when you gonna rhyme again? He looks up and says, ask him. So now there's 10 MCs on my block. But the rest will be replaced before this show is done. Ready with their bullshit raps to rape this culture and run. Because there's so many fake MCs who are whack. About 40 on every block and every city to be exact. But rhyming words with nouns and verbs doesn't make you an MC. You gotta live for the funk and die for the funk. If you don't, put your pen down, please.
Let me go back into the memory bank. 40 MCs. So I was a junior in college at SUNY Purchase. I was living in Brooklyn that summer. And I felt like there was like dudes on every block calling themselves rappers. Like everybody was like, yeah, I'm an MC and I'm an MC and I'm an MC. But it was like they weren't really writing and they weren't really trying to like care about the art. They were more focused on just like the lifestyle of being a rapper at the time. And I'm just a consummate artist and I love hip hop. Anybody who knows me knows that. And so it was like insulting to me that these cats were not respecting the craft, you know? And so when I wrote 40 MCs on my block, how's it go? I got 40 MCs on my block, walking with a bop, claiming that they real hip hop. 80 feet in Timbs and sagging jeans, rhyming about cream, chasing the same dream. Oh, I remember it. Okay. And when I wrote that, it was coming from a place of authenticity and being genuine in your work and in your craft. And that's a cornerstone of like what I do. Anything you see me do, know that I'm doing it from the heart. Like sometimes you got to do things for a check, but I won't do anything for a check that foregoes my integrity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
understand.
And so that's where 40 MCs came from. And I remember I wrote it, and my boyfriend at the time was at school. I wasn't at school during the summer. And then I remember I spit it to him in the kitchen He was the first person I spit it to, and I spit it to him in the kitchen of his apartment on campus, and he was like, yo, shit is crazy. And I was like, okay, we're good. We're ready. And then it kind of just took on a life of its own.
Okay. Well, let me talk to you about something else. I downloaded your album a while back. Very while. You remember Spandex Rhymes and Soul?
Of course I remember Spandex Rhymes and Soul.
So I thought you would laugh about that one because I keep going back in the day on you. Now you have a hip hop and neo soul combination in your music. That's just kind of what I noticed with it.
We get down, yeah, we do, yeah, we do. So cool, yeah, we are, yeah, we are. We get fly, yeah, we do, yeah, we do. Innovators. I feel like $1 million in my $5 shades, $40 chucks. See, it don't take much, cause when you got it, you got it. And yes, I got it. Oh yes, I got a lot of personality. I call it character, individuality, and all that. Follow what just ain't in my vernacular. Demeanor is that of a leader diva. They call me not for nothing. I'm something like a queen. Crown unseen, I rock beneath the curly mane. Frown not mean, just got a lot on the brain. Downshifting, never a part of the plan. Lewis Hamilton, my formula is to be number one. These fakes is cumbersome, awkward in their movements, trying to catch my rhythm, fucking up my groove, man. Over here we prove that fly's a state of mind. Feet planted, but we rise above them crumbs every time. Gotta go, so the body, make the rules, follow the line, trendsetter.
What inspires you to get into music?
Well, I was always into music, but in terms of like me becoming a recording artist myself, so I couldn't rap.
Mm-hmm.
Like I could not rhyme on beat to save my life. And I'm somebody who, like, once I'm faced with something that's a challenge, like I kind of won't rest until I like beat it. And I remember I was just at a point where I didn't know what I wanted to do artistically. Like I just didn't know what I wanted to do professionally. And I said, well, all right, if I'm at this crossroads, I need to just go back to the beginning and take a different path. So, and I've done that a couple times in my life where you just kind of get stuck and you're like, go back to the fundamentals, go back to the start. So I went back to the New Rican Poets Cafe, which was my first, which was like my home for doing poetry. And I did a show that night, and there was a bass player and a drummer on stage. And I was spitting 40 MCs, and I realized that I was rhyming on beat. And it was like, oh my God, like it's happening. Mm-hmm. And then I ran into them 2 days later. Like just randomly, 2 people I've never met in my life. I ran into them 2 days later, and they were like, hey, we really liked performing with you the other day. We'd love to get in the studio. We have a studio at City College, which was really close to where I live. And they were like, we'd love to record some tracks. And so that was really the beginning. Like I got in the studio with them, and I had songs that I had written. And so we started recording them, and I just fell in love, and I got obsessed with it. And then, I started sharing my music with different people. But the first person who really got behind me was Mick Boogie, who is, he's a DJ who's really big. He dropped the boogie and now he just goes by DJ Mick. But I remember sending him my stuff, and he was like, yo, you're nice. And we did a mixtape together. And that was the first time that folks got to really see oh, okay, you're not just a poet. You're not just a host, you can really do music. And that just dovetailed into lots of other stuff. And I ended up being in Flowetry for a summer and replacing Natalie. Now, see, they got back together.
Mm-hmm.
And, it was just, the music business was what ruined music for me. I loved doing music, but I hated the music business. So that's why I let it go. Because I knew that if I wanted to get to a certain level of success, I was going to have to give up way more of myself than I was willing to do so. But as a comic, I don't have to do that.
Well, Amanda, see, I was going to ask you about that, and you kind of answered my next question about, you like what music has become today. But it bothers me what you just said, and I'm going to tell you why. If that's part of your gifting is to do music, I don't think the music industry should ruin that. And I tell a lot of black people, we need to take back our music. This is our music. It's not theirs. And
are you a musician?
I am not a musician, but I know a lot of people who are into music. Now, I used to play piano a lot as a kid, and I used to sing a lot too, but I'm out of practice with that, so don't ask me to sing or play piano. But what I'm saying is, I know somebody who's right now working with their artists and really deep into the music industry and just how it really undercuts great artists, and how the best route for them is independent, because they keep all their money, they don't sign their life away, they don't get in 360 deals and disrespect their craft, especially if you've been around, you did your own thing. So I just kind of hate to say you kind of left your music alone if, you know, if it's something that you like.
I mean, I also like my sanity,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I also like myself, and I like music, and it was making me hate music. So I don't need to be doing music as a career to do music, you know. But I think that it's very presumptuous to say that, oh, you know, you don't like when people say that they don't want to do music because they don't like the industry if you've never been in the music industry. It's a very well-known, terrible place. I mean, it really is just a den of lions and sharks and serpents, and it's not for everybody, and it wasn't for me. And I think that the real courageousness comes in knowing what's best for you, and knowing what battles to fight. And I felt like that wasn't my purpose. I wasn't here to fight that battle. I can still do music, and I will do music, but I needed to do it on my own terms, and I needed to go a different path in order to do so.
Yeah,
So
that's basically what I was saying. See, I was saying that, you know, why you're not doing music, get in the music industry. I'm actually against the music industry 100% due to what they do to people.
Right.
Just based off what you just said. And like I told a good friend of mine who has his own label, I said, man, y'all can do that independent. Please do it. That way y'all can keep your money.
But it's really easy to say you can do it independent because it sounds dope, but it's also really, really difficult because it has very little funding. And people need to eat. You know what I'm saying? It's really hard to be creative when you're trying to be, it's really hard to be creative musically when your creative juices are going to trying to figure out where your check is coming from so that you can pay rent, so you can eat. You know what I mean? And then as an artist, it's like, especially as a female artist, you don't have to, you know, it's not even just about your music. You got to look good. Like, there's all these different things that come into being a successful artist in America. And being independent is an ideal that unfortunately a lot of times doesn't translate into actually being able to make a career out of it that sustains. I mean, it's harder to be a successful music artist than it is to get in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I'm not saying that I'm against being independent. I'm just saying I understand how difficult that struggle is, and how real it is, and how some people feel like, you know, that sounds good, but I may need to kind of go this bigger route in order to get to where I really want to be. And I also understood for myself that, like, if I was doing music, I wanted to be Beyonce level fame. Mm-hmm. You know, like, I want my music to be heard by as many people as possible. And being an independent artist at that time was never going to get me there. Because even like TDE, which is an independent label that Kendrick is on, they're still distributed through Interscope. Mm-hmm. You know, so independents, at the end of the day, if they want to get their artists to a certain level, they still have to connect to one of these bigger distribution companies, because that's the way the game is put together.
Oh yeah. I just, like I said, I'm just passionate about, you know, people who just do their music. So it's not me saying anything against you. I just like to hear people do their music. That's all, because these people just stealing our craft and drowning it out. And, you know, like I said, they won't maybe play your music, but they may play someone who could sing a lot less than you. And you're like, well, really? You know, even with the rappers, you're like, really?
But see, that's what I love about comedy, is because it's an actual meritocracy. Mm-hmm. Like, I felt like in the music business, like, you didn't really have to even really know how to sing or know how to rap well to make it. At least in comedy, you better be funny. Mm-hmm. You know, like, you better be funny. And maybe you may not make everybody laugh, but you need to be making enough people laugh in order to advance. And I've just found so much empowerment in that space, and knowing that, like, my advancement is very largely in part based on simply just how funny I am, because that's in my control. You know what I mean?
Oh, yes, ma'am. Now, it's something I saw. You was invited to CNN to speak about the catcall video. And you was debating a guy. In my opinion, he was real silly on some of his responses. I just didn't understand him. I mean, I didn't. But, you know, now let me ask you a question. You was making so many eye gestures, I was just laughing at that. You know, it's like you're... and doing all this stuff. I mean, I get what he was saying, but if a person just watch that back and forth and watch all your eye movements, let me ask you a question. Now, and it may be just random. Was your side-eye seminar birthed out of that interview on CNN?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, that interview on CNN, you know, it's funny when people would be like, hit me and ask me like, oh, were you practicing your faces and stuff like that? And it's like, no. Anybody who knows me knows that I wear my heart on my sleeve and my thoughts on my face. But if you watch that interview, you'll see how in the beginning, I'm keeping things very composed, but the more ridiculous he gets and the more offensive and the more just disgusting that he got, I just stopped fronting. Like, if you ain't going front, I ain't going front neither. I think a lot of people attached to that video because, one, I was on like America's #1 news channel very openly challenging a white man for talking ridiculousness. And two, as a woman, I was not being flustered by somebody who was just trying to undercut and undermine. I mean, I don't consider myself necessarily a feminist, but I do consider myself someone who is incredibly invested in equal rights for all and in the advancement of women against oppressive forces. So, you know, I think that shined through in that interview. And so the Side Eye Seminar came out of that. And it was really dope because on these campuses, there's just such a strong tradition of sexual assault, unfortunately, and we're still fighting sexism. And, you know, you see all these Title IX cases coming out right now. And so when I would come to these campuses and I would perform the Side Eye Seminar, it's me using anecdotes and humor and history to touch on serious issues like rape culture, like catcalling, like even basic stuff that you kind of think is not that serious and it's innocuous. But like when people say things like, oh, you know, you good at that for a girl. What the hell does that mean? So
yeah, I know. You know, it's what it's supposed to be.
Exactly. So things like that. We talk about hip hop and the misogyny in hip hop. And I'll be actually performing the Side Eye Seminar at University of Tennessee on March 5th. And, you know, still putting together some college dates as well. I think we're doing Texas A&M at the end of the year as well. Mm-hmm. So that definitely came out of that appearance on CNN. And it's taken on a life of its own. It's really dope.
Now, let me ask you, you made a statement about rape culture, and you hear a lot of feminists speak about rape culture. Why is it that feminists don't tell the truth on who is the leading candidate for rape in this country? Why they don't talk about that?
I don't know. I'm not a feminist.
You know, it's like they tell you these different things, and even
who is the leading candidate for rape?
Okay, well, according to the, if you listen to Fox News Channel, we the biggest rapists, we are the biggest criminals, we do everything. But you know, we recently covered the 2014 FBI statistics, and you know, white males have a 67% rape rate versus black males have a 29.9%, but yet they don't speak on that. And when they talk about rape, like we rape everybody, and I think that's disingenuous, and that's not even fair how they do that. Which if a woman's raped, it doesn't matter about a person's color. They don't care about stats. They don't care about anything. But it's just the media is just the way they push this stuff. Even when women are being beaten by men, they push it like, you know, Ray Rice, he's the poster child of domestic violence. But you have Johnny Manziel. Yeah, they talk about it, but they're not making a big deal about it. I mean, I don't know if you had noticed that.
Well, I think that there's a couple levels that you're referring to there. I mean, when we talk about the media and their portrayal of things, I think that's different than talking about like feminists and their portrayal of things. I mean, I think that if we're going to talk about like feminists talking about rape, I personally don't feel like I've heard a trend of feminists saying that only black guys are raping. Maybe that's what you've gathered from what you've watched, but I haven't gotten that sense. I feel like there's more of an overarching sense of just saying that like, hey, rape is wrong, and no matter who's doing it, it needs to be discussed. I feel like I actually hear more about, you know, kind of like frat boys and the culture happening within like the actual white privilege sector of athletes and fraternities, etc. But that's just been my experience. But as far as the media, I mean, we can talk about the media being racist on many different levels, including how they portray domestic violence, how they portray victims versus assailants. You know, the fact that Mike Brown was called a thug while he was laying dead in the street for 4 hours. Mm-hmm. So I think that there's, you know, there's a dichotomy there in the kind of stuff that you mentioned. But at the end of the day, my focus is more on teaching and encouraging folks to have a better understanding of their rights, and encouraging men to have a better understanding of their expectations. And, you know, there's a lot of people, when the Cosby story broke, I mean, you just consistently heard men saying things like, well, they went to the room, as if that was somehow a valid explanation for being drugged. Now, he hasn't been convicted, etc., but that doesn't take away from the fact that you seem to think that if a woman shows up to a hotel room, then that means that she is signing up for sex. And it's like, listen, I may be possibly, perhaps, you know, thinking about possibly, perhaps making this happen, but I can change my mind at any time, and I don't owe you anything, and you have no right to my body, period. End of story, point blank, done.
Well, you know, well, of course, like you said, everything with Bill Cosby is alleged. But, I mean, I asked this question when I did my video. Now, no matter what, if you have a black man, okay, being accused of raping all these women, and a lot of them are white women, and even in that time period, it was much harder for a black man. Do you seriously think that he did all that and got away with that, and not was told anything, not was caught?
Yes.
I mean, a black man
I
been killed just for looks.
Yes, I do, and I think it's silly to assume not, because Bill Cosby was the biggest star of his time, and he was beyond race. So we're not going to get into a debate about Bill Cosby and about whether or not he raped these women, because I can promise you, you're going to say something to offend me. So we're going to just move on.
Yeah, that's why I said alleged. You know, I'm not accusing him, because we all should have our day in court. Now about the catcalling, is it really that bad in New York?
Yeah.
Because I don't know. I've never grown up seeing that unless in just certain areas. Because, you know, I'm down here in Houston, so, you know, we was raised to, you know, hey, you talk to women a certain way, you know, you speak to them and whatever else. But screaming across the street, I wouldn't want nobody screaming at me across the street, like they act like they know me or something. I mean, I just
precisely. You also don't want people touching you that don't know you.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, I have a thing about people putting their hands on.
You also don't want people grabbing your arm, you know, feeling like they have access to you without knowing you, which is something that a lot of women have just grown up having to deal with. I mean, whether you're on the street, if you're in the club, you know, if you just show up looking pretty somewhere, a lot of men feel like that is an invitation for them to approach you, to talk to you, to touch you in a sexual way, or even in just an overly familiar way, you know? And it's uncomfortable. And you want to feel like you can look your best without being inviting in a way that is more like harassment rather than complimentary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just tell men on any given day when we talk, I say, listen, don't be gassing up their ego anyway. I mean, if you want to talk to them, just speak to them. If not, just leave them alone. Because some of them, you know, that you can make them with this big head, then somebody be nice to them. They're like, what you looking at? And all this, you know. So I just tell a lot of men just to stay.
What are you talking about right now?
What am I talking about? I'm talking about what you're talking about. I'm talking about, like, so listen, when it comes to some women, not all, some women get an ego when too many men do that to them. And so I tell men, just don't scream at no women, just talk to them like normal. You know, and I think that should be the best way. That way you won't have certain inflated ego, because some guys are disrespectful.
I don't think egos are being inflated by men yelling compliments at women. But I do like that. But I do feel like, you know, Houston, like LA, like Atlanta, it's very different than New York. New York is very unique in the fact that we're not in cars. You know, you're in the street walking, you're on the train. There's just far more connectivity between people than there is, per se, in cities where most people are doing their daily transit in their own vehicles. And so it kind of changes the dynamic, because you are just kind of available to everyone at all times. And it's a different social energy in New York than anywhere else I've ever lived or anywhere else I've ever been. I feel like Paris is probably the closest in terms of just this constant interaction with people at all times, because the public transit system is what's used majority by people than them being in their cars. I mean, I can be in LA, get in my car, go somewhere, come back, and never speak to anyone. You know, whereas in New York, it's impossible to do. you're going to speak or have an exchange or bump into someone. I mean, it's a unique lifestyle, which I grew tired of, and that's why I moved to LA.
Yeah, I mean, LA is a different. For me, I think LA is more so like Houston on steroids. That's how I feel about it. Well, I just like that down home feel that we have down here. Now, let me ask you a question also about Beyonce's Super Bowl performance has been widely discussed. Especially a lot of right wing media. They accused her of racism for paying homage to the Black Panthers and Malcolm X. Do you feel entertainers should take a stand like that more in the community?
Without question. I think especially now that we live in an era where there's so much more visibility, I feel like it's incredibly irresponsible not to. And I think a lot of people like to make references to the past and be like, oh, well, the revolution was never started by entertainers, and that's valid, but it's been supported. And you had the Harry Belafontes, and you had the Nina Simones, and the Sidney Poitiers. I mean, and the Muhammad Ali. This has never been something that lives in a vacuum. A lot of creatives and creators are activists and have a vested interest in our people and in their fans. So why wouldn't they? We look at Kendrick Lamar, and I mean, that's a huge cornerstone of his music, and J. Cole as well. So I think it's great to see Beyonce start on this journey. I hope that she continues on this journey because she's such a widely known and respected artist, and someone of her stature and fame. In the past, any artist of her level of fame has always used their music as a platform for some type of social justice and awareness. So she's right on time to start doing that, and I hope to see more of it. And I hope that the individuals who have a problem with it, I just hope that they wake up. Because if you have a problem with that, then you are part of the problem.
Correct. Now, you have produced a video called How to Make a Racist. Now, I thought it was funny, especially about the Fox News reference. When you put the Fox News cup up there, I said, oh, that just did it for me.
But this episode is going to be sponsored by the one and only Fox News. And this is original homemade taste. Yeah. So remember, when you're making a racist, you gotta add Fox News.
You gotta add that Fox News. Nice.
Now, how did you come with the idea for that video?
So that was on Things I Learned This Week, which is a series that I did out of my apartment for like 2 years, and we're actually about to start it back up here in Los Angeles. And I just had a really amazing, fantastic, phenomenal team of writers, and we would just get together every week and just take the stories of the week and try and come up with different unique ideas on how to bring that to the people through the lens of the Black American experience, and so with How to Make a Racist, I forgot what the story was at the time. I think, Donald Trump was being Donald Trump, which is racist. And we had just come off the heels of Baltimore, I believe. And, you just saw all these consistent elements kind of coming together, repeatedly to show like a racist point of view, and those elements that we mentioned in the video, like Fox News, affluence, indifference. I think we threw some money in there.
Yeah.
We in this country we create racists. Racism could have been eradicated a long time ago. But there are factions at work on a daily basis to keep those ingredients coming together to keep forming those points of views that are so deleterious to actual social change.
Now, I saw something on your Instagram. I thought I wanted to ask you about this. You spoke of a white gentleman in a Bentley that hit the hood of your car. You an ugly B word.
Went into the wrong parking lot, had a white man in a Bentley block me off, get out of his car, approach my car, hit my car, tell me, why the fuck are you in this parking lot? Get the fuck out of this parking lot, you ugly bitch. So, good morning.
Yes.
What was his problem?
He was probably on steroids.
Oh, he was one of them?
He was going to Gold's Gym. I try not to try and figure out what makes other people ridiculous. Because you kind of lose energy I was mostly just proud of myself for remaining safe in the situation, because it's very easy to get overwhelmed by these people when they bring their wickedness and their shadiness and their shittiness to you. Mm-hmm. And we have to try and and we've always had to do this, especially as Black people in this country, and as women oftentimes, we have to keep the bigger picture at hand, which is me getting in something with you is going to infringe upon my safety, my wellness, etc., which is way more important than whatever crap you're bringing to me right now. You know what I mean? This battle is not going to win anything. Someone like that, it's they're already living such a terrible life anyway. So, when you're treating strangers like that, your karma is already just round the corner. So I don't really got to do much, but that don't mean I'm not going to talk about it, because I think that a lot of people don't even understand just the kind of violence that women face on a daily basis. Just a regular basis, you're faced with just violence, and you know that had it been you in that car, he wouldn't have hit your hood.
No. I seriously doubt that. But I don't know if you do that down here in Texas, even to a woman down here in Texas, you may get yourself shot.
Yes, that's correct.
Because the gun laws in Texas are very lax.
Yes, that is correct. And there's a lot of people got guns in Texas. You know what I mean? But I was on my way to an audition, and he was not going to infringe upon my getting on this show. So I was keep it together, SEALs. Don't think I didn't lose my damn mind in the car. There was a whole lot of but we're still here. And that's what's important.
It's the old people say, it's full of the devil.
Exactly.
The guy way you acting. So Amanda, let me ask you a question. Where can people find you? Contact you.
Where can people find me? Right now I'm waiting on some things, so you should look forward to being able to see me more often. But I think the biggest thing that I want people to check out is my digital series, Get Your Life, which is currently on youtube.com, Issa Rae. So that's Issa Rae's platform. And it's just a very honest and hilarious and genuine show about a woman just on the grind, moving from New York to Los Angeles, and just the type of things that you face personally and professionally, just being independent and Black and single and about it.
Wow, I ain't heard that in a minute.
About it.
I know, right? Now, do you have any comedy shows or speaking events coming up that you want to let everyone know about?
So, the best thing to do is to actually just follow me on Instagram. I promote all of my comedy shows and speaking events on Instagram and Twitter. So I do have a comedy show actually tomorrow night at the Comedy Store in Los Angeles. And I'm starting a night every fourth Tuesday of the month at this place called Now Boarding here in Los Angeles. And so it's a comedy night / party. So we do comedy first, and then I get on the ones and twos, and we jam till the rest of the evening. So it's free. So come on out to that. And but there's definitely going to be a lot more shows coming up, and I'm actually waiting on a couple of dates. I'm in the process of starting a weekly show here in Los Angeles, so that should be coming up in the spring. So the best thing to do is to just follow me on Instagram and follow me on Twitter, and you will always be in the know with what I got going on.
And your Twitter is what, at Amanda Seales, or,
yep.
or what? Okay, all right.
My Twitter, my Instagram, my YouTube is all Amanda Seales. AmandaSeales. And follow me if you got a sense of humor and you love Black people. And if you like cats, it'll even be a plus for you as well.
You like cats? See, I'm a dog person. I got 2 dogs.
I love all animals. I just don't have time for a dog the way that I would need to. I feel like dogs deserve a lot more attention than I can give right now. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I respect the dog.
Oh yeah. Well, I got a Border Collie and a King Charles Spaniel, so they act like they own their own personalities in itself. But Amanda, I thank you for coming on the show today, for answering questions, even going back and forth a little bit on different topics. Say, okay, well that went a little different. You know, so I mean, hey man, we get into all kind of discussions here anyway. I mean, half the time people call me names and be pissed off at me on a good day. That's why I have a whole
I know
series
about that
that's
life.
dedicated to comments. So you know how it goes on the internet at times. So Amanda, like I said, we definitely want to be a friend of the show. You got something going on. Like I said, I'll talk to you about it after we get off the interview. But thank you for your interview and time.
And thank y'all for having me. I appreciate it, and good luck with keeping everybody in the know and getting the show more visible and to a bigger audience, and just being about some common sense, because we
All right.
need a lot of that.
All right. Well, see you next time.